Hello, and welcome to episode 14 of the BigSlice Gamescast. I am your host, Corey Stroby, and with me I have Jessica. So we kind of have a lot to unpack, so we're going to get right into the first topic. This is an article by Rebecca Valentine over at GamesIndustry.biz from October 8th. This is man breaks into Valve and steals $40,000 of equipment and games. A man is being summoned to appear in court in Washington after breaking into Valve and stealing over $40,000 of games and equipment. According to local news station KIRO7, 32-year-old Sean Shaputis already had 6 warrants out for his arrest when Valve brought burglary. Wow, I can't say that word.
Burglar?
Yeah. 32-year-old Sean Shaputis already had 6 warrants out for his arrest when Valve brought burglary charges against him in September. He has since been captured on camera selling stolen games at a GameStop. Police say Shaputis is the same suspect who stole a FedEx truck in July of 2018 and was caught just 1 week after being arrested for a different string of burglaries.
Jesus.
What
a dummy.
Yeah. I mean,
guy looks like a tool.
Oh, I didn't even see the picture of him.
He's got like one of those snapback hats on. He's on backwards, and he's like dressed like a 32-year-old probably shouldn't be dressed, honestly. He looks like a tool.
Where'd you see his picture?
On the KIRO7 website.
Oh, I see.
If you click the Kiro thing,
yeah,
it should take you right to it.
Oh, maybe I clicked the wrong thing. Yep, I did. All right, so here's the picture of him. I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, he looks like a tool.
So he broke into Valve, stole $40,000 worth of stuff after stealing from FedEx last year, which was after stealing from other things a week before. He makes good choices.
Yeah. How do you $40,000 worth of games and equipment from Valve? How do you get away with that? Without being caught immediately.
Oh.
Yeah, without being caught immediately, I mean.
Yeah, he clearly doesn't think, so.
Yeah, so he stole $40,000 worth of equipment and games. He's going to jail for I don't see his actual sentence, but he'll be going to jail, I'm sure. Because that's
it's because Lord. He still has to go to court. So
yeah.
he'll have to go to court, and then they'll give his sentence then. And then if he doesn't go to court, then he'll have another warrant to add to the already 6 that he has.
Yeah. Got to collect them all.
Gotta catch them all. Police warrants.
Okay, so that was kind of a short one. There's really not a whole lot to unpack on that.
No,
yeah.
Somebody being dumb, that's all.
Okay. New charity Safe in Our World focuses on mental health in the games industry. This is by James Batchelor over at gamesindustry.biz from October 10th. It says, a collection of games professionals have launched a new charity to help promote better mental well-being within the industry. Launching today, Safe in Our World aims to both raise awareness and offer support for anyone with mental health issues or concerns, whether they are employed by the industry or a player of its games. Central to these efforts is the new Safe in Our World website, which is designed to be a hub for resources and information on how to cope with depression, stress, bullying, isolation, insomnia, anger, bullying, and more. The site will also share stories from those in the industry who have suffered a variety of mental health issues, as well as their advice on how to get the support you need. Plus, there are details for local helplines and support sites for people around the globe. Safe in Our World will also highlight and promote video games and apps that address mental health directly. The first title it will focus on is Fractured Minds, a game developed by BAFTA Young Game Designer Award winner Emily Mitchell, which explores her personal journey and the positive effects games can have on people's lives. Fractured Minds will soon be published on PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch by Wired Productions. More projects will be announced in the weeks ahead. Launching today to make World Mental Health Day Safe in Our World has been founded by Wired Productions' Leo Zullo and Neil Broadhead, and Little Big PR's Gareth Williams, with involvement from the publishers Al Hibbard and Aaron Cooper. Leo Zullo said, quote, "The video games industry creates worlds for a huge number of vulnerable people, and it is our duty to help and support them. We can reach them and share this message if we work together. We can actually make a difference. Safe in Our World is the first step in these efforts, and we're delighted with the response within the industry and with and the partners and individuals who are joining this initiative." So, in an earlier episode of our podcast, we did mention something about mental health in the industry, I think sparked by a conversation about abuse toward developers. I think it was a while back, but I think with this being like something that launched on World Mental Health Day, which would have been, I think, October 10th, was when this article came out. So this launching on World Mental Health Day, I think is a good fit for this sort of thing launching. The fact that and it's not like this crazy like organization that you have to like join and be a part of or have some sort of membership. It's just at the very least it's a website where you have a ton of resources to look into. Like, you don't have to necessarily work up the courage to reach out to somebody right away. It has resources so that you can start looking into it for yourself.
Right.
Because I know when it comes, or a friend. Because I know sometimes reaching out for help when you suffer from anxiety or depression, reaching out to somebody on your own is kind of hard to do. For some people it's easy, but I know most people that suffer from depression or anxiety or both, reaching out for help isn't something that comes naturally.
Right.
But yeah, I think this is really interesting, and with there being a lot of resources here, I think could only be a positive thing. Plus, with this game coming out, Fractured Minds, Emily Mitchell, the designer, I think that's what her name was, right? But if I remember correctly, Fractured Minds was actually a game that was awarded something at the Girls Make Games Awards or whatever it was. I have to look into this. But I saw that, and I swear that title sounds familiar. So I'm looking through some of the games. Well, maybe not.
No, I think it's just BAFTA and Young Games Design winner.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, that's a lot for a 17-year-old.
Yeah. Well, I guess she's 18 now. Did it say 17 or 18? Or did it even
It says it
say?
was created by 17-year-old Emily Mitchell,
Oh, okay.
but she could be older now. I don't know.
But yeah, so that's a game that I'm gonna be looking out for.
Yeah. The website, the Safe in Our World website in general, is actually really cool to look at. I mean, they've got all the information to find help and support. Like it's got like a pop-up that says need help, click here. And if you click it, it says I need to contact someone about my own mental health or someone I know. And there's another option that says I want to find out more about mental health conditions. So that's cool. And then the one that's really cool is if you hit related games and apps, it gives you a bunch of games that you can play. And one of them is Life is Strange. So that's cool.
Yeah, Life is Strange is definitely one to that's definitely one that tackles mental health, especially if you play the first season has a few characters that suffer from things.
Mm-hmm.
Substance abuse, depression, bullying, couple other things I can't name off the top of my head.
A lot of big topics in there. And then there's like stories too, so you can go to the stories and like there's one actually by Emily Mitchell. But there's like stories just like that people are like talked about. Like there's one that says the time that Halo saved my life. There's one that says I met my partner on Minecraft and changed my life. Like there's a bunch of cute stories on here too. So I think it's just a cool website in general for people to check out, whether they're coping with any sort of mental health or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll have a link to the website in the show notes and in the YouTube description. But yeah, that website has a lot of resources. So if you're in the industry and you want, resources to look into, or even if you're not in the industry, if you're just, if you're a gamer yourself, this is something that this website focuses more on our industry.
Mm-hmm.
Our industry specifically, like that's what this website is for. Gamers in general, people who work in the industry, people who are super interested in the industry but don't necessarily work in it. There's tons and tons of resources here. So it's like you said, there's a link for related games and apps, and there's a ton of stuff here, and they're not just games, they're apps too.
Right.
Wow, there's a lot of games in here. Depression Quest is that one's a classic when it comes to games about we played
mental
that
health.
Yeah, we played that in school for one class, and
Did you?
yeah, our teacher actually put a trigger warning in the assignment notes saying that, like, if you are sensitive to anything involving anxiety, or if you have anxiety that's triggered easily by playing certain types of games, to contact him and he'll give you a different game for the assignment. So it's like, if I remember correctly, it started off as a browser game, but it's on Steam now too.
Was this this was for high school or for college?
This was for college.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, just trigger warning. Depression Quest is a game that's kind of rough to play. So just be prepared if you do go to play it, because there are definitely some parts of that game that could trigger, an anxiety attack, or kind of cause some friction on your depression if you do suffer from it.
Right.
So fair warning, Depression Quest is a rough one to play, but I do highly recommend it if you are up to the task, but don't push yourself too hard to play that. But Life is Strange should be a little bit easier to play. I know there's a couple scenes in particular that are rough, but otherwise it should be a little easier to play through. But yeah, I think basically any of those games are going to have some rough scenes. Celeste should be a little bit easier. That one's a little bit more subtle, as far as I know. I never actually played it, but from what I've heard, that one's a little bit more subtle. that's more kind of in the theme of the challenge. Is it's about overcoming those those types of illnesses. But yeah, so definitely check out that website. There's a lot of resources there. There's games for you to check out. I highly recommend most of them. I haven't played them myself, but from the reviews that I've seen and the opinion, those whose opinions I trust very greatly, have talked nothing but positively about most of the games on that list. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add to that?
No, just I think it's really nice just to see how things are coming along in the world. I'm and that mental health is not a thing that's whispered about anymore, or as big of a shame as it used to be. So it's just nice to see that things are coming to the point that they are now, and whether you have mental health issues or not, I think it's good to educate yourself, and you should go on the website and play a game like Life is Strange.
Yeah. Life is Strange is definitely one to get into, with the finale of season 2 coming up in a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Because episode 4 was wild.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next thing on the list, this one's a little busy. Fortnite season 10 event seems to have ended its world. So normally I wouldn't just randomly bring up Fortnite, but this story went viral over the weekend. In the past week, everybody has been talking about it and freaking out.
I don't even play Fortnite, but I heard all about this, and I actually was very interested in it.
Yeah, like Epic, you guys went the extra mile this time.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are nuts. So this article was this is an article from Kotaku by Riley McLeod. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. McLeod?
No, it's McLeod.
Like Fox McCloud? Is it actually McLeod?
I'm 99% sure it's McLeod.
Okay. It's MacLeod, so we'll say it's McLeod. I'm not sure if that's actually how it's pronounced, but
I had someone in my high school who had the same last name.
Oh, really?
So
okay, it's probably McLeod then. So this is by Riley McLeod over at Kotaku from the 13th of October. But this one is one that was kind of updating a lot throughout the last few days. So I'm just going to read it directly from the article. It sounds like Riley was kind of experiencing this as it was happening. So there's a ton of updates to the article. So I'll just read through it.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, after weeks of anticipation, Fortnite's big Season 10 event happened. Was the wait worth it? Yes. At the start of the event, the only available mode was a team fight called The End. In my match, players clustered around Dusty Depot's rocket. At the end of the countdown, the rocket launched into the sky and cracked it. Pieces fell off with bright blue capsules circling around the map. A capsule with a bright red line fell from a crack above Loot Lake, causing an explosion that launched players into the sky. The bubble around Loot Lake glowed and flickered, and a meteor surrounded by capsules fell onto it. As I watched, familiar items like tomato heads and the battle bus were sucked into the explosion, including eventually the entire map itself. I was left with only a dark screen with a wormhole in the middle and the option to exit. When I logged out and tried to log back in, the game asked me to log into my Epic account. After attempting to load for a while, I was told my login failed. And that came out Sunday at 2:15, and then it updated the same day at 2:47. This is 2:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So then he said, after a few more tries, my game logged in, but I was taken back to the black hole. Currently, the Fortnite website is just a blank Twitch stream. The logo on the game in my Epic library is just the wormhole, and Fortnite's Twitter logo is just black. Then he updated it again at 3:40 p.m. Only a tweet live streaming the black hole remains on Fortnite's feed. Streams of the game show the black wormhole screen. The status page reads anomaly detected on all, the status page reads, quote, anomaly detected on all services except the Epic Store. Then he updated again at 4:22 p.m. Even their Trello is just a black hole. If you don't know what Trello is a website that Trello is a website where communities can send up technical difficulties that they run into or bugs. It's all we used it. Our art team at Full Sail was using it for tasks for working with design teams for the capstone project. So it's basically like a task list sort of group thing to use for communication and whatnot.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this update was at 4:22 p.m. on that same day. Even their Trello is just a black hole. The event has been teased for weeks, with the visitors' rocket steadily being built in the return location of Dusty Depot. The visitors showed up in Season 3's Meteor, and this season has been considered responsible for the time distortions that have brought old areas of Fortnite's world back to the map. The game's overtime challenges had players finding... the game's overtime challenges had players finding voice recordings of the visitor talking about time loops, quote, the formation of the island, and quote, the end. Developer Epic has gotten in on this apocalyptic vibe, tweeting that, quote, the end is near, end quote, and making the unusual decision to have the next season start immediately following the event, instead of the standard few days later, along with leaks suggesting the next season will be Fortnite's, quote, Chapter 2, and data miners finding a host of new place names. Players were expecting something cataclysmic, and that's certainly what they got. Fortnite Season 10 was polarizing with unpopular additions and a divided community. I'm pretty sure everyone is ready for a change, but I have no idea what it will be. Looks like I'll be spending the rest of my Sunday sitting in front of my computer waiting to see what's next. And then another update at 3:41 p.m. He said, the numbers 11, 146, 15, and 62 are occasionally appearing above the black hole. 11 makes sense for the new season, but what about the rest of them? And then updated at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The official PlayStation support Twitter is reminding players that their V-Bucks and items are okay. I have more to talk about on that in just a second, but it continues saying, esports consultant Rod Breslow is citing some pretty huge viewership numbers for the event. So during the event, there were 4.5 million or more on YouTube, 1.5 million plus on Twitch, 1 million plus on Twitter, and 37 people on Mixer, which is pretty insane. 37 on Mixer. Just 37 people. Okay. Wow, Mixer, you guys are not doing great. So millions across those platforms, and then 37 on Mixer. That's got to be a typo. There's no way that it was that low. Anyway, and then at 4:20 on the same day, it says leakers are suggesting something could happen in the next hour. We're in this together, folks. And then Fortnite news broke at 4:10 p.m. According to according to @Lucas7Yoshi, something will happen at 5:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then another thing will happen at 6:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. First is titled Kevin Says Hello, and the second is Survey BR Nick 001. I have no idea what those mean, but it continues at 4:58. You can play a mini game while you wait. Apparently, the mini game was like if you were to type in the Konami code during the event, like at the black hole screen, you could play some. It looked like some version of. It looked like some random version of. I'm blanking on the name.
Like the Alien game?
Yeah, Space Invaders.
Yeah.
It looks weird. It looks like I'll post a picture of the screenshot in the YouTube version, but that's what it looks like. It looks like Space Invaders or some weird version of Space Invaders. Excuse me. Where was I? Okay, and then it updated again at 5:10 p.m. Now there's an 87. Reader, I screamed. And then at 5:55, he says, some players are correlating the numbers to the visitor's audio logs and suggesting it spells out, quote, I was not alone. Others were inside the loop.
Outside the loop.
Did I say inside?
You did.
Oh, yeah. It says, quote, I was not alone. Others were outside the loop. And then it updated again at 6:29 p.m. One Fortnite leaker is suggesting the downtime could last until Tuesday based on things they've found in the game's webpage code. Let's hope not. And then at 9:32 p.m., the whole numbers message seems to have been decoded. Fortnite News says on Twitter, I was not alone. Others were outside the loop. This was not calculated. The nothing is now inevitable. #Fortnite. And then it's just a picture of the black hole. And that's where this article ends. So that was pretty much a play-by-play of what was going on Sunday. I have to give it to Epic because this is insane.
It is insane. I didn't watch it live, but I did watch the finale, I guess, of season 10. And it wasn't like I actually was like super interested. Like I don't really, Fortnite's not really my thing.
Yeah.
But like I was super interested in watching it because one, it's amazing that it's a live event that anybody can be a part of.
Yeah.
And just watching it all go down, like I was watching it was like a streamer was, showing it and just his reactions in general. He's like, no, this is fine. It's just rockets flying around, making, like the rifts, like the cracks. Like it's fine. Everything's fine. This is normal. And then like eventually it does like the rocket comes down and like hits and the meteor and everything, and just he starts like floating upward. He's like, guys, I'm not doing this. Guys, I have no control. Guys, I don't know what's going on. And he like gets up and he watches everything. So the bus goes by and things go by and they're all getting sucked in the black hole. And suddenly he gets sucked in the black hole. And then it's just the black hole. And he's like, and I'm watching the whole time like, this is amazing.
Were you watching it happen live?
Not live, but I did watch just how it went down, and it was really cool. And then I was like, I thought it was interesting how people were kind of like upset that they couldn't play Fortnite, but I'm like, you guys, did you just see what happened though? Like that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, like what you are witnessing right now is an insane sort of cultural phenomenon that's happening within this game that in and of itself is a cultural phenomenon. Like Epic, like this actually got me like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about just how insane this is. Like this, like Epic definitely earns their studio name because this event was epic. Like I don't even know what to say.
Sure.
Like I'm not a big Fortnite person because I mean it's just I don't really get into the game that much. It's too much of a commitment to get into it like full time, like to be a main part of like getting the battle pass and playing it on a regular basis. It's just I'm not into the battle royale in general to commit that much time to one game. Mm-hmm. But like witnessing this from the outside, makes me feel almost disappointed that I wasn't a part of it. Like,
Yeah.
it makes me miss being a part of something huge. Like for example, when Cataclysm launched on World of Warcraft, like all of a sudden major parts of the entire world were changed permanently, and I missed out on it because I just wasn't part of that. I was catching up on another expansion for World of Warcraft, and I felt like I missed out on that. And I've since kind of fallen out, and recent events that are happening within that game world also makes me feel like I'm missing out on stuff. But it's like, if you're a part of this, like you're a part of something that's culturally huge, and for this to happen like during a live play, it blows my mind that something this huge could happen in our industry, or in just one particular game. But I did want to touch up on something that they said earlier, or in an earlier update. The one from 4 p.m. on Sunday. The official PlayStation support Twitter is reminding players that their V-Bucks and items are okay. One of my friends that works at GameStop was talking about. She mentioned on Facebook. I'll go back and lift a quote from there. Whoops. But she was a manager at one of the local GameStops. Whoops, I just lost the post. Okay, so she wrote, if I get one more message, I had 36 messages on Facebook about Fortnite or a call today, I'm going home. Fortnite is not over, guys. There's a new bundle called Darkfire. There's special skins, weapons, axes, and everything, so please don't call upset and yelling at us. We are not Epic and had no clue they were going to do that. I know so many parents are upset and kids are crying over this, but you didn't lose your skins nor your money. They are putting the final touches on the new map. I'm hoping it will be back up soon. So apparently a lot of parents and kids that were playing the game were upset that they couldn't play, which is understandable. But when you look at this from a cultural and creative perspective, I think this is insane and a power move that Epic, like, you'll be able to play it in a couple of days if you can't already play it. Like they're not going to just.
It's up now.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, season 2 started, or chapter 2, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you're able to play it now, but I don't think that was really worth getting upset about, because it was only going to be down for a couple of days. Like.
Right.
Play something else, or go outside or something. It's fall, fall is in the air. Go play in the leaves or something. If people even still do that nowadays. But like, this left me speechless as I was following it. And I just knew that, okay, we've got to talk about this on the podcast. There's no way we can't just let this go by.
Right.
Like, this is going to go down in history as one of the most insane headlines in the last 10 years. That one and probably the next one. But like, this was insane. We'll see the kind of the aftermath of this whole event. I'm sure in the next week, but it might just be done now. But yeah, like, so is there actually like a new map, or because I didn't look into that?
Yeah, there's new map. They hold on, I saw a thing. A whole new map, and they've updated some gameplay. I know that the loot lake has got some new stuff in it. But I mean, when I say new map, I mean like a whole brand new map. Like, there's 13 new locations that they can explore, and there's a bunch of stuff that's gone into it. So they basically, I mean, the world ended, And for some people, it really felt like it ended because they couldn't play for a couple days. But I mean, they basically just got a brand new game out of it. So
Yeah, like there's a whole new map. It looks like there's another story on it, still updating that Riley wrote. I'll read it directly. It's Fortnite's Black Hole is over. Chapter 2 begins. If you type in Fortnite new map, it should be like the top article by Kotaku. But I'll go ahead and do a quick read of it. It looks like it's consistently updating. But the last update was at 9:51 a.m. It looks like Riley was up all night covering this. Holy crap, man. Like, Riley, hats off to you, man, because you were. It literally looks like he was just up all night covering this story as it was happening.
yeah.
So he wrote, after roughly a day and a half, Fortnite's Black Hole is over. Despite the anticipation for a big event, the server simply went offline. There it is. At around 4 a.m. Eastern, with thousands of people around the world staring at Fortnite's swirling black hole, the game suddenly blinked to a loading screen with a message reading, quote, Fortnite servers are currently undergoing maintenance. Please try again later. The servers currently read as offline, presumably undergoing maintenance for the next season. In a normal Fortnite season, this is pretty standard. Developer Epic takes the game offline between roughly 4 and 6 a.m. to update things. I'm not surprised to see downtime here, and I'm glad we'll be getting the new season so soon. But after all the waiting and social media blackout surrounding the black hole, this feels a little anticlimactic to me. It was a big, quote, black hole death event inside us all along. It was a big black hole event, a big black hole death event inside us all along. I'm awake at 4 in the damn morning, so I'm going to say yes because I need this. Keep in mind, at this point, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and he was up most of the night covering the story that I just read, or that we just read. And now I just lost my spot. So I'm awake at 4 in the damn morning, so I'm going to say yes because I need this. Some folks on Twitter are saying the new cinematic trailer played for them in the lobby, but I was unable to access that as pressing relaunch just took me out of the game, which is currently updating. Then he updated at 5:51 a.m. Here's the official trailer, and I'll post the trailer in the show notes. But yeah, there's a trailer for that. Following the game's big end-of-season event, Fortnite turned from a game of weird characters and 10-year-old teammates into a swirling black hole. It then, to the internet's collective shock, stayed that way. Confused players joined forces to decode mysterious numbers, play a hidden minigame, entertain themselves with speculation, and spend more than 35 hours staring at what basically amounts to a screensaver. He goes on to say, 4:43 a.m., my update finished, but I'm just seeing servers offline. I'm making a second pot of coffee. And then 5:53 a.m., he got in, cinematic above played, and at the end of it, I was dropped straight into a solos game. So by the sound of it, he was able to get into it and so forth. I'm not going to read through the entire article. But as I was reading that, something kind of clicked with me. There's this concept that I'm blanking on her name. There's this concept of bringing the world together through gameplay in a way to sort of fix a broken reality where people are becoming less and less I guess where there's a depression epidemic and people are less and less inclined to sort of be social. Like in a world where social media kind of dominates the world, there's less and less people who are physically being social outside of like work and stuff. I'd have to look at the statistics for that again, but with social media kind of taking over, there's less sort of organic social connectivity because more and more people are spending that time on social media or on their phone. So it's like they're not, even if they're talking in person, they might have their phone out, so they're not like completely engaged. with a conversation or completely engaged with a person that's right in the room with them.
Right.
Something like this, where an entire group of people around the world come together for like 36 to 48 hours, focusing on this one thing globally, millions of people coming together to try and figure this out, kind of shows us how games could sort of fill the gap of social connectivity. Even though they are playing it online, they're still actively working together on something. And to see that actually happen for the first time, that I think since at least that I can remember, since this, I'd have to find the actual story on it. There was something with Halo where a ton of people came together for like this big social event where millions of people came together, and like their kill count for the Covenant in Halo matches was counted toward this sort of global goal. Like, people would come together to, like, Halo players would come together to try and reach like 10 million kills or something playing Halo. Like 343 and Bungie at the time that Bungie was still involved with Halo. I'd have to look this up. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'll look for the story. But it was mentioned in Dr. Jane McGonigal's book, Reality is Broken, and she actually has a talk on she has a TED talk on that. I'll have to find that. But Jane McGonigal is a game designer and doctor of psychology and sociology, if I remember correctly. Kind of focusing on stuff like that. And I'm sure she has something to say about like this global phenomenon that happened with Fortnite, but it just got me thinking about what's the talk? Jane McGonigal, Gaming Can Make a Better World. It's a 20-minute TED talk. I'll put it in the show notes. I highly suggest checking it out. And if you want to look into that or that talk more, look up her book, Reality is Broken. It's kind of a whole book based on that general talk, but it's very interesting. But this whole Fortnite event and seeing people like that entire giant community come together to do this over the course of 36 to 48 hours reminds me of something that was talked about in that book. And I'm sure this whole event kind of plays into that, or that whole event kind of fits right into that whole general idea. But anyway, did you want to add anything else to that story?
No, I just, like I said, for someone who's not a big Fortnite person and never really has been, this is definitely something that even drew me in. So they did a good job.
Yeah.
And I am sad I didn't get to be a part of. It, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I wish that I could have been a bigger part of it. But I think just witnessing it alone, being aware that it was going on, I think is special in and of itself. But yeah, it was, that was quite the event. And I tip my hat to Epic for the designers. Yeah, the designers and the producers, whoever was running that whole event. Like, this is going to be talked about for years, I'm sure. Okay, getting into the main topic. This one is a doozy. This is something that's still going on, or that's still kind of unfolding today. I'm sure we're going to have more to talk about it next week. But this is the whole Blizzard-Blitzchung controversy. There's a lot to cover. I have a few articles here that kind of give the play-by-play that happened over the course of the week. Some of it has been updated, and I'll correct some of this as we go. But we'll go ahead and start with this first one. And I think all of these are by Marie Delisandri, except for the last couple are both by Rebecca Valentine. But Marie Delisandri over at gamesindustry.biz kind of wrote all the articles based on this. But getting into the first one, Blizzard dismisses Hearthstone player for supporting Hong Kong protests. This is by Marie Delisandri over at gamesindustry.biz. This is from October 8th, last week. It says, Blizzard has removed professional player Chung blitz-chung Nguai from the Hearthstone Grandmasters after he showed support to the current anti-government protests in Hong Kong during an interview over the weekend. This would have been last weekend, by the way. In a blog post, Blizzard said that Nguai had violated the competition's rules, stating that players are not allowed to, quote, engage in any act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image. And to quote that further, they actually quoted the actual rule. And going into that actual post, they were quoting the 2019 Hearthstone Grandmasters official competition rules, version 1.4, page 12, section 6.1, paragraph O, or statement O, whatever that is. Reading it directly, it says, engaging in any act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard image, will result in removal from Grandmasters and reduction of the player's prize total to $0 to $0 in addition to other remedies which may be provided for under the handbook and Blizzard's website terms. So, in Blizzard's defense, they were absolutely in the right to do that because it is explicitly defined in the Grandmaster's handbook that he cannot do that. So I feel like I'll finish reading this article really quick before getting into that. To give a little bit more context. In a video interview he gave after his win against South Korean player Jang Don-hyun-jae, I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced that name, Nguai shouted, quote, liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age, Invent Global reported. This video has since been removed. He was also wearing a gas mask and goggles akin to those Hong Kong protesters wore before masks were banned from the demonstrations last week, although numerous protesters have defied this ban since. On top of being removed from the Grandmasters, Nguai also won't receive its prizing and won't be allowed to participate in Hearthstone esports for a duration of 12 months starting October 5th, 2019. The two who were conducting the interview with Nguai have also been impacted, with Blizzard saying it will, quote, immediately cease working with both casters. Talking to IGN following Blizzard's decision, Nguai said, quote, I expected the decision by Blizzard. I think it's unfair, but I do respect their decision. I'm not regretful of what I said. Like, I shouldn't be afraid of these kinds of white terror. IGN asked the esports player to clarify, quote, white terror, to which Nguai replied, quote, it describes anonymous acts that create a climate of fear. Well, starting with this, what do you think about this?
Well, it's kind of hard to be on a side for this one, I think, and I'm trying really hard to like watch what I say. Just because there are a lot of things that are, going on overseas between them and, our political people in charge.
Yeah.
Whether it's China or North Korea or, whatever. So I think just it sucks that, somebody believes or see, I'm having a hard time with this. It's, like if I wasn't living at home, like if something was happening here and I felt like it needed to be liberated, I probably too would want to say the same thing. I mean, people throughout history have said "Viva la" whatever, but I think they just, I don't know. You got to be careful with these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean,
It's probably the most political way I could have said that, but
yeah. I'm not gonna pick I'm not gonna pick a side on whether being for the government or anti-government over there. I don't know that much about it, but by the sounds of it, it's very anti-free speech.
mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone listening to this, but that's what it sounds. That's my understanding is they're fighting for. They're fighting against the suppression of free speech. But looking, and in that case, I do agree with Ingwai. Like you should be, talking about this stuff. But looking at this event in particular, what happened with Blizzard, I think Ingwai was in the wrong. Well, in the wrong might not be the best way to describe it. I don't think that Blizzard was stepping. I don't think that they were necessarily stepping on toes, banning him. I think honestly, Blizzard was in the right here to do what they did because they did explicitly from that quote from the Grandmaster's Handbook. Ingwai was absolutely in the wrong in this case.
Yes.
It was against the competition rules. It was defined in the handbook, the consequences. So the consequences that were initially stated were not unfair. However, I do think that it was unfair to fire those casters. They had no idea what was going on. And we'll get to a quote on that in a little bit here, but immediately following, before moving on, do you have anything to add to that, the stuff in that article in particular?
No.
So moving on to kind of the next part of what was going on, Blizzard got a lot of backlash over the last couple of weeks. Like Blizzard is still seriously under fire. I think a little unfairly, but I'm having a hard time picking sides here because, like I said, Blizzard wasn't necessarily in the wrong for doing what they did. I think that firing the casters was a little unfair because, like I said, they didn't really know what they didn't really know what was going on at the time. They were told, or one person in particular was told, and I'll get to it. I'll go into more detail later, but he was basically told that he has an interview, and that was it. But anyway, like I said, we'll get to that in a second. But continuing with kind of what was continuing to unfold over the course of the week. So that story was from the 8th. This was the following day. Blizzard backlash escalates following the Hong Kong supporter ban. Blizzard is facing increasing backlash following its decision to exclude Blitz-chung Ingwai from professional Hearthstone competitions for showing his support to the Hong Kong protests. In a video interview he gave after a win during the Hearthstone Grandmasters, Ingwai shouted, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age." Blizzard consequently decided to remove the player from the event, cancel his prizing, and ban him from official competitions for a year. U.S. Senators Marco Rubio, Republican of Florida, and Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, have since both expressed their concerns concerning Blizzard's decision. Wyden tweeted, quote, "Blizzard shows it is willing to humiliate itself to please the Chinese Communist Party. No American company should censor calls for freedom to make a quick buck." Rubio also reacted via Twitter, saying that, quote, "China is using access to market as leverage to crush free speech globally. Implication of this will be felt long after everyone in U.S. politics today is gone." The backlash also came from Blizzard's own employees. Plaques with the words "Think globally" and "Every voice matters" displayed at the entrance of the company's headquarters in Irvine, California, had been covered yesterday. Former employee Kevin Hovstad reported on Twitter. These inscriptions are part of Blizzard's 8 core values, as its mission statement clearly shows on its website. Said values state that, quote, "Blizzard Entertainment is what it is today because of the voices of its players and of each member of the company." It continues, quote, "Every employee is encouraged to speak up, listen, be respectful be respectful of other opinions, and embrace criticism as just another avenue for great ideas." I just lost my spot. These values sit side by side with lead responsibly, among others, with Blizzard saying that, quote, "As one of the world's leading game companies, it is committed to making ethical decisions." The gaming community also reacted strongly, with moderators on Blizzard's subreddit eventually setting it to private to avoid further backlash, Eurogamer reported. The Hearthstone subreddit is still running though, with at least one moderator deciding to step down from the mod team as they feel Blizzard is, quote, "no longer a company they want to support or follow." There have been calls for boycott coming from multiple sources, with the hashtag Blizzard boycott trending on Twitter at the time of writing, with over 21,700 tweets. As part of this campaign against Blizzard, Overwatch fans have also been trying to make Mai a pro-democracy symbol supporting Hong Kong. For context, Mai is one of the playable characters in Overwatch, and she is of Chinese descent. Continuing, elsewhere, players during an American Collegiate Hearthstone Championship showed their support to Ngwai by brandishing a "Free Hong Kong Boycott Blizz" sign at the end of their match. The Taiwanese casters who were interviewing Ngwai when he expressed his support to Hong Kong were also condemned by Blizzard, which terminated their contracts. Talking to PC Gamer, one of them, who goes by the name Virtual, said he was, quote, "just doing his job," and was unaware of the fact Ngwai was going to wear a gas mask during the interview, a reference to the Hong Kong protests, and he didn't know how to react to it. Virtual said, quote, "The director only told me I have an interview. He didn't talk about how he's wearing a mask, so when the interview started, I wasn't sure what the situation was, so I thought that Chung could just say what he wanted to say." Both casters were notified that they were being fired a day later without being given any precise explanation. Now, to add context to this, really quickly, since then, both the sportscasters that were fired were given instead a 6-month suspension. Same with Ngwai. Got a 6-month suspension rather than the full year, and his prize money would be returned. I think, obviously, which was Blizzard's answer to kind of softening the blow to this whole PR mess that kind of exploded. But anyway, I spent a lot of time reading that, so I'll give you a chance to kind of, if you have anything to say on this before I say anything.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yes.
I think that the senators that spoke earlier, Wyden and Rubio, were a little out of line, because with what Wyden said, Blizzard shows it is willing to humiliate itself to please the Chinese Communist Party. No American company should censor calls for freedom to make a quick buck. I think all of this was a little over the top because Blizzard was simply just all they were doing was in Blizzard's defense, all they were doing was what's the word? Enforce. Yeah, that's what I was trying to come up with. They were just trying to enforce their own rules. In the Grandmaster's Handbook, like I said, it explicitly states those consequences for getting political on a platform in which it was not welcome. I don't think that Blizzard was trying to cover their butts they were trying to cover the blow for the backlash that they received when they really did not have to. They were not obligated to, but obviously that was a roughly a smart move. I understand the backlash that they're getting, but I think this was blown way out of proportion and was kind of a misunderstanding. I don't think that they were necessarily making a stance saying that they were against the protests. I think all they were doing was enforcing a rule that was in their Grandmaster's Handbook that Ingwai broke when he pulled that stunt. I think in general, Blizzard was not necessarily trying to be political. They generally try to avoid the political spotlight. And what Ingwai did, that whole liberate Hong Kong or whatever it was, liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age. When he shouted that during an official live stream, that kind of dragged Blizzard through the mud just doing that.
Right.
All of a sudden now politics was getting involved. It was blown out of proportion. I think that the backlash against Blizzard is a little over the top. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but I really don't think that Blizzard did anything wrong.
When it was in the rule book, because it could have been the same thing with rules, like if somebody was to have like an outlash of, being against gay people, like it's, still like a political thing that they have to worry about.
Yeah.
Whether it's, about their country or about, anything that's kind of like a don't talk about thing. It was in the rules and they broke the rules, so they got in trouble.
Yeah. And I think, yeah. On the other hand, I do understand that what they did in another sense kind of goes against their own core values about, respecting everybody's opinions, being forward thinkers, thinking globally, all of that, and everything that's as its mission statement clearly shows on its website. So opening that link to their actual core values, Blizzard, so this is actually straight from their mission statement on their website. Blizzard Entertainment's 8 core values represent the principles and beliefs that have guided our company throughout the years. These values are reflected in employees' decisions and actions every day. And just to summarize, it says gameplay first, commit to quality, play nice, play fair, embrace your inner geek, every voice matters, think globally, lead responsibly, learn and grow. And I'm sure everyone's going to have a chance to learn and grow once all of this is over. Mm-hmm. But the ones that were specifically quoted in all of this was every voice matters and think globally, which they've been accused of not doing, of not thinking globally in this case. But quoting directly from what they have written under Think Globally, it says, everywhere on the planet, there are people who play Blizzard Entertainment games. While respecting the cultural diversity that makes people unique, we strive to grow and support our global gaming community. We also seek the most passionate, talented people in the world to enrich our community, to enrich our company and help us forge the future vision of Blizzard Entertainment. I think when it comes to this whole event, I can see where those would be taken out of context to make it seem like Blizzard is contradicting those values. The whole think globally or every voice matters. Yeah, every voice matters, but at the same time, they also need to enforce, their rules. And when it comes to that competition was meant to be focused on the game and things surrounding the game. I'm kind of torn between the middle because obviously if there's this much backlash, something's wrong. There's not a lot of people, even most of the people that I look up to and whose opinions I highly respect are on the side of the backlash that Blizzard is getting. So it's like, it has me thinking like, okay, is Blizzard really in the wrong, or is this really being blown out of proportion? Like, I don't want to pick any one side, because I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't know. This whole thing is like a giant mess. I tried to do as much research on this as I could, and I'm still on the side of. It's hard to necessarily pick a side here because it's like I agree with the backlash in the sense that free speech is absolutely something that should be defended. But free speech is not protected by a particular company's own rules. They control what free speech means on their own turf. And this competition is their own turf. So like you can't go on Facebook and like threaten to kill someone and then call it free speech. Like, no. Well, first off, that's a threat. That's not protected by free speech. That's a bad example, actually. So for example, if you start spreading false news or something on Facebook, or give a strong opinion that offends, that is highly offensive to a particular minority group or whatever, and Facebook bans you and you say that it's a violation of free speech, then it's not that, in that case, it's not protected because the source that you were using was a private matter or was a private property.
Right.
Or a private platform. Facebook owns that platform, and if they decide that you're going against their terms and conditions or the terms of use, they're going to remove it. It's not a violation of free speech because you broke their community rules. It's the same thing here. You broke, Ingwai broke an explicit community rule by doing that. It's not necessarily a suppression of free speech. It's just an enforcement of their own community guidelines. And it's and I think it's being taken out of context there. But Blizzard is still getting the biggest part of the backlash. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of drawing a line in the sand for myself, but I've definitely given a lot of thought to this, and I stand by my opinion on this. I think the backlash is still somewhat warranted, but I think people are acting too quickly to attack Blizzard instead of looking at the facts that are laid out. And the fact is that he explicitly broke one of the community rules for the tournament. And I think that the punishment was warranted. Having him take away the prize money, I think, is a little over the top, but again, that was also an explicit part of the rules, that his prize money would be $0 even if he did win. But yeah, there is more on this. Blizzard had an official statement following all of this that I think came out Friday. Saturday, excuse me. What's that?
You said for the way you said Friday, I said question mark.
This was actually on the 12th. So Blizzard had an actual statement regarding this. And I don't think I'll read the whole thing. Might as well. It's lengthy though. And I apologize for all of the reading, rather than more and more conversation on this. But it says, "Hello, Blizzard community. I want to take a few minutes to talk to all of you about the Hearthstone Grandmasters tournament this past weekend. On Monday, we made the decision to take action against a player named blitz-chung and two shoutcasters after the player shared his views on what's happening in Hong Kong on our official broadcast channel. At Blizzard, our vision is, quote, to bring the world together through epic entertainment. And we have core values that apply here. Think globally, lead responsibly. And importantly, every voice matters, encouraging everybody to share their point of view. The actions that we took over the weekend are causing people to question if we are still committed to these values. We absolutely are, and I will explain. Our esports programs are an expression of our vision and our values. Esports exist to create opportunities for players from around the world, from different cultures and from different backgrounds, to come together to compete and share their passion for gaming. It is extremely important to us to protect these channels and the purpose they serve, to bring the world together through epic entertainment, celebrate our players, and build diverse and inclusive communities." As to how these values apply in this case, first, our official esports tournament broadcast was used as a platform for a winner of this event to share his views with the world. We interview competitors who are at the top of their craft to share how they feel. We want to experience that moment with them. Hearing their excitement is a powerful way to bring us together. Over the weekend, blitz-chung used his segment to make a statement about the situation in Hong Kong. In violation of rules he acknowledged and understood, and this is why we took action. To get away from this quote, another thing to mention is that when it comes to the law, a lot of times you can get a case thrown out if your argument is ignorance to the law. You can't necessarily be held responsible if you were unaware of a particular law. For example, if you were trespassing on private property without realizing that it was private property, that argument could be used in your favor. That might be a bad example, but like if you don't understand the rules, a lot of times you can get away with like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was breaking a rule."
Right.
But blitz-chung, after it happened, explained that he was aware of the rule and was aware that he was breaking it, which makes him all the that much more guilty of breaking it. Like, he knew he was breaking a rule. He knew what consequences would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another thing. Like, okay, you knew that you were breaking a rule while it was happening. Why use Blizzard's platform to do it? Why not use your own YouTube channel or your Twitch channel? You wouldn't necessarily be breaking community rules, or at least not badly enough to where they would take action against it. If you did it on YouTube or if you did it on Twitch and YouTube aren't going to necessarily care if you do that. It's protected. You'd be protected by free speech, sharing your opinion on a political matter. It's not false news. It's not anything like that. So why not use YouTube or Twitch? Why do you have to use Blizzard's official competition stream? I lost my spot here. Violation of the rules. He acknowledged and understood, and this is why we took action. Every voice matters, and we strongly encourage. Continuing with the statement from Blizzard, Every voice matters, and we strongly encourage everyone in our community to share their viewpoints in the many places available to express themselves. However, the official broadcast needs to be about the tournament and to be a place where all are welcome. In support of that, we want to keep the official channels focused on the game. And he goes on to explain that, the sportscasters' sentences would be reduced to a 6-month suspension. Same thing with Blitz-chung. And his prize money would be replaced. So his prize money would continue to be rewarded rather than pulled. But I don't want to keep going with that because that's a lot of reading and less conversation. If you want to read the full statement from Blizzard, I will have the link to it in the show notes and the YouTube description. And I know that my opinion on this is probably an unpopular opinion, defending Blizzard for their action or for taking action against Blitz-chung. And if you have anything to say on that, absolutely comment on the video. Send me a message over Facebook. I know a lot of you are friends with me. Send a message for me. Start a conversation. Let's talk about this. What I'm not going to welcome is people outright attacking me for the opinion. That's not a conversation, and that's not going to make this any better. And I'm going to ignore it. But I would be more than welcome to have like an actual conversation about it. But yeah, were you going to say something on that?
Yeah. The more I think about it, yes, I think Blizzard probably stepped a little too far in their in the consequences. But the reason I say that is because, I mean, he had the platform to say what he wanted, and most people, I don't quite know what his age is, but most people our age or younger are taking every available platform they have to say something that actually matters these days. So like, if it had been like, what's it, Greta?
Yeah, Greta Thunberg.
Something like that. Like if it had been Greta would have taken that platform to share her views on, climate and stuff like that. So when it comes to something like that, there's actually not really that big of a difference.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think that it's being blown up is because of, like I said earlier, we have some political issues going on between us and, across the ocean. But I do want to say that I think he did, whether he agrees with the consequences or not, I think he got what he wanted, because this has been blown up insane amount, and it has brought a lot of eyes and discussion toward what's going on in Hong Kong. So I think he actually did a good job when it comes to something like that.
Yeah, when it comes to, he definitely made a smart choice to do that, because it was essentially, I think he knew as he was doing it that it could be career suicide.
Yeah, he basically kamikazed himself.
Yeah. And well, maybe not career suicide, but he definitely went for a controversial move in order to draw attention to it. He might have even expected that he would be some sort of like political martyr, even though less extreme in this sense of the word, but because typically a martyr is someone who commits, who essentially kamikazes in the full definition of the word for a specific movement. But it was more of like of a professional martyr, I guess. Yeah. Where he knew that it was going to impact his career. He knew that it was going to cause a controversy. He knew he was going against Blizzard's Blizzard's competition rules as far as the Grandmasters go. He knew he was breaking a specific rule in the handbook. But he did it anyway. I think that was probably an unfair move for him to make, but I understand why he made it. Because it would cause quite a bit of controversy, and it would put eyes on him, and it would put eyes on the protests that are happening in Hong Kong. Almost like it was unnecessary controversy in order to draw attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I think that was a very smart move of him to make.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. I think it was unfair to drag Blizzard in the middle of it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, if he was to do it on Twitch or on YouTube, whatever, while he would have the freedom of speech on his side, it wouldn't have made an impact. It would have just been another person, for lack of better words, bitching about something on a platform where it was, unfortunately for Blizzard, he had the platform to actually say something where people around the world were watching.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew they'd be watching.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and like we said, it would cause a controversy that he wanted to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
Not in terms of consequences, but he got what he wanted when it comes to bringing it up.
Yeah. So going into his statement following all of this that happened with Blizzard, this is another one by Marie Delisandre, who was kind of covering this whole thing over at GamesIndustry.biz day by day as it was happening. This is blitz-chung says he will, quote, be more careful following Blizzard's statement. Blitz-chung Nguai replied to Blizzard's statement, reducing his punishments following his support to the Hong Kong protests, saying he's, quote, grateful for Blizzard reconsidering its position about his ban, and that he will, quote, will be more careful in the future. In a statement shared on Twitter on Sunday, the Hearthstone player said he was aware that expressing his personal opinion in the context of a professional competition would have consequences, and that going forward he will rather, quote, express his opinions or show his support to Hong Kong on his personal platforms. Nguai said he appreciates the reconsideration of both aspects, though he stated that, quote, 6 months is still quite a lot. He also said he hopes Blizzard will reconsider the sanction taken against the two casters who did the interview with him, who were initially both sacked by Blizzard too, before the firm said they will just be suspended for 6 months. Concluding his statement, Nguai said he has no idea whether or not he will still be competing in Hearthstone tournaments in the future. Nguai said, quote, since my next tournament is very likely to be the Grandmaster tournament of next season, it's probably at least a few months from now on. I will take this time to relax myself to decide if I am staying in competitive Hearthstone scene or not. Hearthstone changed the way I live. I really love this community. Blessing to all the players out there and blessing to Blizzard. The incident went way beyond the borders on the industry last week, with reactions coming from the likes of U.S. senators, Blizzard-focused subreddits, Twitter communities, and Blizzard's own employees. Blizzard's annual convention, BlizzCon, which is only a few weeks away, should also be impacted with several groups planning to organize protests. And that's definitely something that we're going to talk about once BlizzCon rolls out, because that is in a few weeks. I have a friend of mine who definitely had his own opinions on this. He's very much on the side against Blizzard. I kind of stand in the middle. I understand why Nguai did this. I think it was definitely a productive move in the context of his goal. But I think it was unfair to drag Blizzard in the middle of it. He did break their rules, and I think Blizzard was absolutely in the right to enforce that rule, even though after all of this controversy, I think they made a smart business move by reducing the suspensions, as well as returning the prize money. They did not have to do that, but I think it was a smart move on their part business-wise, in order to kind of soften the blow of this controversy. I kind of stand in the middle. I don't want to keep repeating myself because I'm sure that's not something that people want to listen to. But more on this, both Riot Games and Epic had something to say on this. They both had some things to say. So going into this really quick, actually, before going into that, do you have anything else to add to the whole controversy in general?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So Riot said something. This is Riot Games directs casters and players not to discuss politics on air. This is from Rebecca Valentine over at GamesIndustry.biz. Says Riot Games has issued a statement detailing its stance on the matter of political statements during its on-air League of Legends broadcasts. In the lead up to the League of Legends World Championships, global head of League of Legends esports John Needham, whatever. League of Legends global head of League of Legends esports John Needham said in an official statement that the company wants to avoid political, religious, or other, quote, sensitive issues during its on-air broadcasts. The statement reads, quote, as a general rule, we want to keep our broadcasts focused on the game, the sport, and the players. We serve fans from many different countries and cultures, and we believe this opportunity comes with a responsibility to keep personal views on sensitive issues, political, religious, or otherwise, separate. These topics are often incredibly nuanced, require deep understanding and a willingness to listen, and cannot be fairly represented in the forum our broadcast provides. Therefore, we have reminded our casters and pro players to refrain from discussing any of these topics on air. Our decision also reflects that we have Riot employees and fans in regions where there has been or there is risk of political and or social unrest, including places like Hong Kong. We believe we have a responsibility to do our best to ensure that statements or actions on our official platforms, intended or not, do not escalate potentially sensitive situations. I think this is Riot Games has been in the spotlight for pretty sensitive and very negative contexts, specifically sexism in the workplace and and of the like. This is, I think, unrelated to those controversies, and I think personally, my opinion on their statement of this is kind of a smart move. Like, they're doing their best to avoid a controversy or something that's going to escalate, something that could put their own employees in harm's way. Because when you think about it, the protests in Hong Kong, if something happens during the League of Legends World Championships that escalate the stuff going on in Hong Kong to a violent matter and their employees get hurt, Riot, there's going to be lawsuits against Riot, because if it happens during a live stream on one of their games, something that's under their sort of umbrella, and someone gets hurt as a result, that's going to impact Riot in a very negative way. And I'm sure that this is definitely a smart move on their part to say something on that right away. Like, they're not saying that they're against free speech. They're just, they're all for free speech. They're all for standing up for what you believe in. But this particular event is not the place to do it. And I agree with them on that. And I think it's the same thing with the whole thing with Blizzard, but Blizzard didn't do something about that before it happened. I don't think they could have predicted blitz-chung doing what he did. But I know that this whole controversy is kind of hard to talk about, and I thought long and hard about considering even talking about this on the podcast. But with how big this story is, I couldn't help but think that we should talk about it. And I think, well, we've already talked about it for the past hour and a half or so. So there's no walking it back. there's no going back now. But I think there's argument for the right or the wrong on both sides. I don't want to defend any one particular side. I think they both have. I am in defense of Blizzard, like I said, because they were doing nothing. They were doing nothing more than enforcing their competition rules, and people didn't like that. But anyway, do you have anything to add on Riot's statement?
No, it's just between Riot and I'm assuming Epic is doing the same thing. They're just because it is such a hot topic, they know people are gonna want to talk about it, and they're just trying to be like, "Don't do it on air, please." That's all.
Well, interesting thing. Epic is actually doing the opposite.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Epic won't take action against Fortnite players who speak up about Hong Kong. Yeah, so I'm just going to go right into this. This is by Rebecca. This is another one by Rebecca Valentine over at gamesindustry.biz. This is from the 9th. This was actually earlier than Riot's statement, by a couple of days. This was actually immediately following the stuff that was happening with blitz-chung. But going right into the article, it says Epic Games has stated that it will not ban or otherwise punish Fortnite players or content creators for speaking up on political issues. Speaking to The Verge, an Epic Games spokesperson said that the company would take a different approach in its own events. They said, quote, Epic supports everyone's right to express their views on politics and human rights. We wouldn't ban or punish a Fortnite player or content creator for speaking on these topics. Epic CEO Tim Sweeney added further comment on Twitter. When asked if Epic would do nothing if a streamer such as Turner Tafu Tenny said "Free Hong Kong" in a post-game interview, Sweeney replied with, "Exactly." Another commenter pointed out that Tencent had a large stake in Epic Games, to which Sweeney replied, "Epic is a U.S. company, and I'm the controlling shareholder. Tencent is an approximately 40% shareholder, and there are many other shareholders, including employees and investors. A similar situation will never happen on my watch as the founder, CEO, and controlling shareholder." I think this was kind of a bold move on Epic's part, to take advantage of something like this to get a leg up against Blizzard. I think Epic's definitely kind of learning from Blizzard's mistakes. And I say mistake as in it caused quite a controversy enforcing their own rule. Even if it is against Epic's rules, I think Epic's kind of at the point where it's like, okay, well, seeing how this just happened, let's choose not to enforce this rule and just let them say what they want to say, as kind of a publicity move to sort of gain public favor. But there's a lot of kind of PR politics that play into stuff like this. And I think Blizzard learned its lesson in terms of enforcing certain rules over others. I think in the future, I have no idea what Blizzard would do. I don't know if they're going to. I'm sure we'll see something happen over the next few weeks. There's no way that this controversy is going to end now. Or end anytime soon. This is going to continue over the next few weeks. I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about it as it unfolds more. I don't think it's going to be as big of a topic on the podcast. This is probably the biggest topic we've ever done. I think the closest one was the whole Walmart thing. But even that, we were a little uneasy talking about that because we didn't want this podcast to be something political, but we couldn't not talk about something like this. It's just so huge. It's just so widely talked about in the industry right now, even outside the industry, that we couldn't not talk about this. it's what everyone's talking about right now, and I think it was important to get what we wanted to say on it too. But I think Riot was definitely smart in defining their rule on it before the League of Legends World Championships come, because that's in a few weeks, I think. And that's a major esports event. That's one of the biggest esports events of the year. I don't follow esports that closely. The game that I mostly get into is the Rocket League World Championships, but that's only because I play Rocket League competitively here and there. So it's like that's my type of game. But League of Legends is definitely a huge esports game, and the World Championships are one of the biggest events in the industry each year. So for them to make a statement ahead of time to kind of just be like, we're all about free speech. We're all about people sharing their own political views and, everything that they, being able to say what they want to say, but please don't do it here. That's not what our post-game interviews are for. That is not what this live stream is for. Please don't do it here. And I think that's a smart move on their part. And I think I would do the same thing. Like, I wouldn't want my company to be dragged through the mud in something like that, no matter what side the company represents. Getting involved in politics like that is a messy situation, no matter which side you're on. If it was up to me, I would just try and keep the broadcast about the game, keep it politically neutral, just for the sake of having kind of a peaceful live stream, no one getting into arguments, no one getting political, no one, doing such and such. But it's like you said, Ingwai Blitz-chung wouldn't have drawn the attention that he needed for the whole Hong Kong protests if he didn't break rules doing it.
Right.
He set out to do exactly that, and he knew the consequences for it. But like you said, if he did it on his own personal platform, if he did it within the bounds of the protection of free speech, it wouldn't have caused this controversy and drawn more and more attention to it. And that was a very smart political move on his part.
I mean, he even got like actual literal senators in on it. Like that's Twitch and YouTube wouldn't have done that.
Sorry, you cut out there. What did you say?
Oh, I was just saying just the fact that he got like literal senators to like get in on it. Like that wouldn't have happened if he was on YouTube or Twitch. Or it might have, but it just not at least as quickly.
Yeah, it wouldn't have gone as viral if he did it outside the context of something that would have been breaking rules. Because it is like he became this sort of living martyr where he essentially sacrificed his prize winnings. He sacrificed his eligibility to be a competitor. He sacrificed his career for a political move, which kind of made a martyr out of his own career. And I know I'm not using the word martyr correctly here, because a martyr implies that someone died for a movement. But it's kind of the same sort of context in the sense that he created a martyr out of his career. Rather than himself. But smart move. But I think it was unfair to drag Blizzard into it, because Blizzard is getting Blizzard's taking a lot of heat for something that they weren't necessarily involved in until they started enforcing their rule. And now all of a sudden they're the bad guy for trying to do the right thing on their company. And it turned into a giant mess. But sometimes revolutions cause a mess, and maybe it was necessary. But at the same time, I don't think Blizzard was in the wrong. They were simply trying to enforce their rules, and they took the heat for it. And I know that that's an unpopular opinion, but I stand by it. I know a lot of people will disagree with it, but we can go ahead and wrap that topic up there. If you don't have anything else to add.
Nope.
Okay. So getting to out this week. I'm gonna open that really quick. So with us nearing the middle of October, we're definitely in the heat of new releases. I will start with 15th. That's today as of this recording. I think I wrote that earlier, but oh dang, I didn't realize that was out.
Oh, dang.
Okay,
What?
I'm gonna get to that in a second.
What?
Okay, so out today, the 15th, we have Children of Morta on PS4 and Xbox One, Zombieland Double Tap Road Trip on Xbox One, PC, Switch, PS4, Overwatch on Switch, Outer Wilds on PS4, Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, which is the one that I just got excited about, because that's definitely something that I really want to get into. Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition is out on Switch today. Planetscape Torment Enhanced Edition on Xbox One. The Fisherman Fishing Planet on Xbox One. Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition on Switch. Disco Elysium on on PC, also out today. The Sims 4 Realm of Magic on PS4 and Xbox One. The Ninja Saviors Return of the Warriors on PS4 and on Switch. Icewind Dale on Xbox One. Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition on Xbox One. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on Switch. Out Buddies on PC. Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition on Switch. And Billy Bomber on Switch. That's for the 15th. Any of those that you're looking forward to?
No, not really. I think the only thing, honestly, that's left for me for October is Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, I was gonna say Luigi's Mansion. Is there another one? You cut out there again.
No, I only said Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, okay.
No, I think that's it for October for me.
I bumped the mic. Okay, so for the 16th, we have Just Ignore Them on Xbox One, Ping Redux on Xbox One, Little Town Hero on Switch. That's Game Freak's new RPG game, which looks adorable. I highly recommend checking it out because Game Freak is kind of a master of JRPGs. And then Soul on Xbox One. Not a whole lot coming out on the 16th. Continuing, we have on the 17th, Demon Pit on PC, Stella on Xbox One, or Stella, Stella, I think that's Stella on Xbox One.
Why don't I see it? Oh, Stella? I think it's Stella. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It's probably Stella. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone? I was holding back. I was stifling a laugh when I read that because it made me think of the Disaster Artist. Anyway, continuing with the 17th, we have Monkey King Hero is Back on PS4 and PC. Excuse me. Felix the Reaper on Mac, Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and PC. Battle Planet Judgment Day, PS4, Switch, and PC. Stranded Sails Explorers of the Cursed Islands on Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and PC. Jackbox Party 6 on Xbox One. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes on PS4 and PC. Autonauts on PC. Sea Salt on PC and Xbox One. The Fisherman Fishing Planet on PS4. Kine on Xbox One. And then on the 18th, you have Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville on PC, and Big Eat Ball on Xbox One. And that says end of October releases, but I'm pretty sure Luigi's Mansion is still coming out on October 31st, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it comes out on Halloween. Yeah, initial release date,
don't tell me
October 31st, 2019.
Okay, that's odd.
So I think IGN maybe is just high.
Yeah, it's still October 31st. I don't know why their list ends there.
Because they're high.
I will. Yeah, it stops at the 18th.
Yeah, because November goes all the way to the November 30th. So I don't know.
We will have to get back on that then. But I was going to read all the way until the 22nd, but it stops after the 18th with just Plants vs. Zombies and Pig Eat Ball on Xbox One. But the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Editions are definitely games that I want to get because I do want to go back and play those. It'd be fun to play those with, I think it would be fun to play those with my brother and his girlfriend while I'm gone. If there's online play for that, I'm sure that would be super fun to play. Because I do want to get into like a consistent multiplayer game to play like on a regular basis. But so those are the games out this coming week. Let us know what games you're looking forward to. It'd be cool to hear what everyone's looking forward to playing this week. Baldur's Gate is definitely one that I wanted to get into, but I don't have the money to spend on those right now. But that is going to be something that I add to my wish list. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is from Game Informer's website for October. What was I reading from the?
Because Ring Fit Adventure wasn't even on there. Well, that's just silly.
Yeah,
that's kind of a big deal.
I'm not sure what's going on with IGN's website. Yeah. So we ended on the 18th. Wait a second.
Well, kind of. You still have Ring Fit Adventure, Return to the Obra Dinn.
It scrolled back up. Hold on a second.
Murder.
Okay, so reading these, so the ones that we just read were from IGN's website for the upcoming games list. This is now continuing with that on Game Informer's website. Let's see. So continuing, we have Lovecraft. So on the 18th, we have Lovecraft Tales: The Whisper in the Darkness on PC. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Return of the Obra Dinn on Switch. Ring Fit Adventure on Switch. And then on the 22nd, we have The Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Blood Steel 3 on PlayStation 4 and WWE 2K20 on October 22nd. And I think that's on all platforms. What was the last one on the 18th? Pig Eat Ball.
Pig Eat Ball
was on on Xbox One for that list. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with IGN's website. Correct us if these are wrong, because I know Game Informer, I don't know if this is consistently updated. This was from
September 19th.
This was made September 19th, so I don't know if these are consistent or if these were last edited on September 19th, but correct us if these are wrong. or if any of these are wrong. And I will add a correction to that in the show notes and whatnot. So those are the games that are out this week. I definitely want to play the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Editions before the end of the year. But I think I'm going to prioritize games that are new this year over those. I think that's going to be something that I try and get my brother to buy for something that we can play kind of across the time zone border, I suppose. But I guess we can go into what we're playing. How about you start? What have you been playing this past week?
What did I play? What did I play? Nothing actually. I think I had a pretty busy weekend, which the next several weekends are going to be busy. But I did hop back on Minecraft and started a new realm with our friend Chris, but that's actually all I did.
That's really all you played?
Pretty video gameless. Yeah, that's a pretty video gameless weekend.
I started a game that you finished. I started playing Link's Awakening. I got through the third dungeon, I think. But like I've been doing a lot of side stuff as I go. So like as I'm getting new abilities and dungeons, I'm going through old stuff. I'm marking stuff on my map, which is a really useful feature, being able to make marks on your map. So anytime I see something that I can't get to yet, I'll mark it on the map like, okay, here's a heart piece that I can't quite get to. Here's a treasure chest I can't get to. Which is extremely useful. And there is a limit to how many you can have. You can have up to 30, but you never really use all of them at one time.
No, yeah, because as soon as you get rid of one,
yeah,
as soon as you're able to go back, you just get rid of the sticker. So
yeah, so 30 is a pretty generous amount. I think I have 7 hearts. I've been going back and finding all of the heart pieces as I go.
Nice.
But I'm very much enjoying it. You mentioned that you never really saw the frame rate drop that everyone was talking about, and I can see why. It's a subtle frame rate drop, so it's not like unplayably, like the frames aren't like unplayably slowed down, but like if you pay attention, you can definitely notice it. It's very subtle. If I don't know. There's definitely frame rate drops, but it's like it's not hindering my experience. But it is like it's bad enough to where I notice it. But it, like I said, it's not bothering me that much. It's just like when you go from one screen to another, sometimes it hiccups just a tiny bit and slows down. But it's like,
but that's just, you're loading out a new screen, so like to me that would just seem like it's a part of it, honestly.
It's still technically a frame rate drop. But it's like it's not like it's not like it's so bad that it's unplayable or it's like a bother. It's just
right.
like you expect it because you're loading a new screen, even though that is something that you would write in for like a review. Like, yes, there are noticeable frame rate drops that might duck like half a point in a review, because they're not terrible. It's not like Control had some nasty frame rate drops. Like the more enemies that were on the screen, it would just borderline unplayable at times, or just horribly frustrating to the point where like the frames are so bad that you can't see what's going on. That's bad. But with Link's Awakening, they're subtle and they're not horrible. It shouldn't hinder your experience. It's enough to where you notice it, but you can pretty much just shrug it off. But yeah, that's pretty much all I played this weekend was Link's Awakening.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm hoping to play more of it, hopefully tonight and throughout the week. Yeah. I've also been rewatching Breaking Bad because I want to watch the El Camino movie.
Oh yeah,
I
saw that came out.
It sounds like it's pretty good. So I want to finish. I'm halfway through season 5 of Breaking Bad, so I'm going to finish that this week too. So that I can watch the movie this weekend. On top of playing more Link's Awakening. But I'm also getting ready for my move next weekend. Because I moved to Champaign to start my new job pretty soon.
Hey, Champaign.
Yeah. So I think in the next couple of weeks, our podcast schedule is probably, just a heads up, the podcast schedule is probably going to be disturbed a little bit while I'm moving. I'm sure you and I will be able to kind of figure out what to do and kind of play by ear, just to make sure that we can still get a podcast up each week. But just so everyone out there is aware, the upload schedule, I think, is going to be disrupted a little bit. I'll do my best to make sure that we still get a podcast out every week. It's just probably not going to be within the same time frame every week. So we'll figure that out as we go, and I'll keep everybody updated on it. But yeah, I think we can pretty much wrap up that episode there.
Yep.
You can find the podcast on podcast services like SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and now on the Google Play Store. I added that over this past week. So the podcast is on the Google Play Store. Just search BigSlice Gamescast, and you should be able to find it for any Android users out there. You can find the video version of it on YouTube by searching BigSlice Gamescast on YouTube. And you can find the BigSlice Gamescast on social media sites such as Facebook at BigSlice Games and at on Twitter at BigSlice Games as the handle. You can find me at Strobe Official. That's STROBBE Official on Twitter. And Jessica, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at PhoenixLeeJS, or if you're ever interested in seeing any of my photography work, which is what I do for a living, you can find me on all handles at JL Boone Photography.
And thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.